Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of what we have affectionately called We Get It. We Get It was an old program of YACC, great, amazing videos that you can still find on our website. But we decided to recycle this idea and make this new web series that is going to be on our website, on YouTube, on Facebook, with guests. I have one with me today that you might know. There's going to be some health professionals, community organizations, some survivors in our community, supporters, researchers, different guests hosting depending on the week. So hopefully it's going to be kind of neat. Every Monday, we're going to come with you, offering you some information. So welcome. This is the first one. Be kind with us. We might, we've done that a few times, but if we make a mistake, hey, be nice. So welcome. So those of you who are watching and who are long-time yackers, as we call people. So I'm Karine. I'm not even sure if I introduced myself. Did I, Geoff? I'm Karine Chalifour. So I'm the program director for Young Adult Cancer Canada. And I'll introduce my guest who's on my left on my screen in a minute. But for those of you who are not new to YACC, what we're going to talk about today might not be completely new to you, but still interesting because it's going to be about you and about young adults with cancer in this country. But for those of you who are new, we're thinking of you in making this very first video to first welcome you if you're watching this. We're pretty cool people, even though, not perfect. We're all right. We care about you as young adults. So hopefully the information we give you today is interesting and helpful, and that you stick around and check YACC a little bit more. So we'll give you information later. But until we do that, I'm going to introduce my friend here, Geoff Eaton. Geoff is the executive director with YACC. He's the founder. He's a two-time cancer survivor. Friend, tons of things. Hey, hi, welcome.
What's up? You are great.
What's up? Well, thank you.
I love that you've reignited We Get It.
Right? Me too.
Fuzzy feelings from that thing way back in 06 and 07 and
yeah,
shooting that with a bunch of survivors. It was a beautiful video, and you can see still a bunch of videos on our site or on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I know.
Great experiences there. I love it.
Me too. I love that program too. So, hey, we're happy. I kind of wanted to start today to kind of give almost like a history for our people to know kind of how YACC came to be. And YACC came to be really because of you, Geoff. So how about you tell us a little bit about your story, like your cancer story, and kind of how this organization came to be?
Yeah, wicked timing. Like we're a week away. I'm a week away from being 22 years out of my cancer experience, my original diagnosis. I was, and I'm sure many of you listening will relate, I was a 22-year-old kid, had the world by the tail, or so I thought, just finished school, taking on, chasing my dreams, pushing my limits anywhere I could find them, definitely not taking care of myself. Really having a great time finding my independence and trying to build a business so I could create some financial independence. Got sick one night, passed out at a friend's reception, hospital, blood work, right? And that was the turning point, getting blood work done. Everyone in the ER, the docs, the nurses knew something was really wrong. And then a few days later, diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, so AML for short. And everything, the whole world changed. There's no question about that for me. It is my personality to, expedite the acceptance part of challenges in life, and get to addressing them. And I often do that really well. Sometimes I neglect the heart and just move beyond it and forget about it. So in this case, I think I was mindful of where I was and how I was feeling early. But just really moved to thinking about how am I going to deal with this thing? My whole life has changed here. How am I going to take this on? So that's really what started me that first week in hospital, getting ready and prepared to start chemo. Excuse me. So two big things I did the first week is one was I created a mindset in my head. How am I going at this thing? And for me, I kind of gravitated to this hockey space because I played and loved and coached hockey and still do. And it just felt like the mindset I had in the hockey rink was going to help me in the hospital room. So I pretended in my head I'm playing hockey against cancer. Like I literally thought about it, talked about it, wrote about it, like it was hockey and cancer. I had a stick, a jersey, cup, all that stuff. And that just, to me, whatever the way it is you get your head around it, to me that's what it did for me. Is it just got my head around this challenge, and it gave me a frame with which I could use to think about it. So then the other really important thing in hindsight is I had a whole bunch of people reaching out, wondering what was up. Like, and my hemoglobin was 75 at the time when I went to the hospital. I was sick and low, so I didn't have much energy, and I was immune compromised, so I wasn't seeing many people early. So I had a laptop I bought from my business like 6 months before, and I was like, my dad's an engineer, so we're like back in the old school days. We're finagling with the old shitty hospital phone line, and just finding a way to get connected to the internet so I could be connected to people, because that's a huge part of who I am. And the email, old school email, kids, that was what I did. So I actually created this little email group to keep people up to date with what was going on when I could, in my own terms, when I had energy, that kind of thing. And I just also felt like I was going on this path, and I just had this feeling in my gut that I was going to learn some really crazy important shit, and I wanted to share that. That decision is definitely, the first foundational block in the wall of YACC. Just the idea of sharing my story and talking to people about what I was going through in real time as I was doing it. So that's what I did. And then, I had a wild ride, and then came out of cancer the first time after a bone marrow transplant, a month in ICU on life support, super sick, not expected to make it out of that, but I did. And then continued physical recovery as well as emotional, social, financial, all those things. And then just felt like I needed to do something with this experience I had. And those emails kind of became the very first program of YACC, which was sharing them with other people, especially high school students and university students. So that's what we started to do. It was I was super excited and felt like I was on the right path. So I was loving that part of recovery, but I was, again, in true to form, neglecting so many other parts of my recovery. Not taking care of myself physically, like being mindful, but not really trying to rehab myself. Lost 50 pounds in treatment, just getting back to that kind of stuff. And then, I get a year out of my transplant, and my blood's still good. The doc said, you get 2 years, you're going to be golden. So got to 2 years, had a big party, claimed my cup. And almost that week, my blood starts to drop out. A few months later, I officially diagnosed with a relapse. And that was crushing. There's no question about it. That was crushing to me. Like, I was so confident the first time, naively or not. Like, I really felt like I was going to get through this. And then when I relapsed, the confidence in my body just disappeared. And I mentioned, this ability that I have to shut the heart off. I can do that if I need to, sometimes even when I'm not aware. But that's what I did when I had my recurrence. I came up with a new mindset, which was helpful for me. But I realized it was probably heavily driven out of fear, that I didn't have much time left. I know lots of yackers have had a recurrence, and it's crazy tough news to receive a lot of times, and it was for me. But I really kind of didn't even acknowledge the fear in the initial phases. And I just tried to move through this thing. I took that email group and went even more public with it, and had a transplant again from my dad. Again, not great prognosis at all. One doc figured I'd get 2 years or so out of it. So I was moving in that space, and then ultimately getting connected to Karine, who's now my wife. And that was kind of that process of us dating and me wanting to be around for a long time brought this awareness of how disconnected from my fear I was. And I had to deal with that. And that was a very, very difficult thing, was to deal with the fear of dying and not knowing how much longer you're going to have. When you have one of your transplant docs saying, you're probably going to get 2 years or so, and then you've already had one, that puts a deadline right in front of you. And that's where I was in that space. So the only way I could figure out how to do this was to sit with it and let my mind go to the crazy dark places, and to allow myself to be in that place. And it was scary as hell for a long time. And eventually I would just get comfort and sit with that. And over time, I got comfort with that. You know, like if that was what was there ahead of me on my road, then uh,
Oh, if you can hear me, Geoff, you froze for a moment.
years out. Um,
And you just froze for a second, Geoff, just so you know.
that's my unstable internet connection.
I know it is.
Not you. We're rocking out the internet connection over there. So this, even though I'm like 6 feet from my router.
I know.
So we're dealing with that fear. One of the toughest things I've ever done in my life, but it definitely helped me kind of reestablish a foundation on which I could build the rest of my life, which was, you know, more connected to who I am, what was going on inside, and then move forward. So then I kind of dove back into work and building YACC, which was super fun and exciting. You know, initially we were in my old bedroom, like a lot of startups. That's where we were. My old bedroom at Dad's, and you know, in YACC 1.0, it was just kind of figuring out what we were going to do and who we wanted to be when we grew up. This was in 2000 when we started, and moved through my relapse and my second transplant, and then our first strategy kind of came with this awareness that there's not much going on for young adults across the country, and we our desire to do something about that. I take a lot of credit for sure for the first brick or two in the YACC Foundation. But like literally from the very first week I was in hospital, I sent an email out, and then I get a whole bunch of people back wanting to join this email group. It has and continues to be such a big, huge team effort that makes us go. And you know that, and you're a huge part of that. And it's team in the office, it's team on the board, it's team of volunteers, it's headhunters in schools and offices, and it's survivors, it's local life leaders, the activists. Like, it's huge, beautiful team, and everybody's kind of pushing this organization forward in this direction. It is still, you know, disheartening in some respects where we are when it comes to this population and the lack of resources for it. And it is one of the things that I'm still super, super focused on. You know, we evolved out of my dad's bedroom, my old bedroom at Dad's, I mean, and our, you know, our initial start and starting retreats, starting a web community, like those things were done in 04, 05 for YACC. Our conference, 07, like that, starting that stuff that really solidified an early program model for us. This beautiful combination of face-to-face and web-based. And we've been kind of repeating that for a long time until this year, obviously, just with our slight change. But we'll be back to that face-to-face stuff when it's safe. So that's where we were. And then like we move into this 2.0 space, which is really a growth in revenue. That for us, you know, 0 to 200 grand in the first phase, and then 200 to $1 million, largely led by the Shade for the Brave. That allowed us to refine and get excellence on a whole bunch of levels that we just couldn't before. Having people like you and Don, who's the COO at YACC, and you know, a more refined operation like that stuff has really been a huge part of where we are. And you know, like, we're crazy lucky. We got Les, who's been around for like 100 years. Ange been around for 10. You're 11 or 12, and Don is 7. Like, we have this team who are super connected, and now Sherry, who's only the rookie little baby, and Gabrielle, like they're like but a lot of us have been around a long time, and we've come through a lot of that. Yeah. And it hasn't all been easy. No. But we continue to persevere and bang through it. And that's where we are. So we're in this place now where we had a new vision, a new strategy a year and a half ago for some significant growth, because we know the need's so big. And we've changed that now with COVID because the environment's changed so much, but we're just as ambitious, and we're just as pumped to go and get this thing rocked out.
Yeah, this is wicked. Like, hopefully in the future we get to hear your full story, because we often say that in the office, but I've heard it I don't know how many times, and it's still I don't know, man. It's wicked. And maybe it's because I love you and you're my friend and then we've known each other for so long, but there's still something very powerful. And maybe it's because it's been my job for almost 12 years and this kind of creation of how this became to be is really awesome. Um, there's a lot more behind that, but ultimately this is where we are now. Like YACC has been in existence for 20 years now. We celebrated 20 in June, this summer in June. And there's a lot more big dreams we have that we're going to keep chasing, like really, with our community and with all the changes and growth and adjustments and being better and all of that is going to come with that. As you were telling your story, you mentioned a few things in passing that are, I know, a lot of the fuel. I know you and I have been on a few rants about that, but for a long time we've been talking about the young adult population and how it's really been the forgotten generation in many aspects when it comes to especially oncology. We could talk about the healthcare in general. But there are a few things or a few facts that sometimes we like to share with our community members because I think it's empowering to know where the young adult cancer community stands in Canada. And to know a few things because I think it is still today, even though it's better than, let's say, when I started working with young adults in 2006, that was not awesome. I feel like today it's encouraging because I see improvements, but there's still a way to go. Do you want to talk a little bit about those forgotten facts? You can pick your favorites. There's a bunch, but let's just focus on our favorites.
Yeah, there is. And I think you're right in that there is probably progress from when we started. Some days it doesn't feel like there is because it seems so minuscule and incremental in comparison to where we want it to be.
Yes.
You know, the presence of Ian Scott in Winnipeg and Megan in Toronto and so many others like the AYA navigators, social workers, like that's a great wicked step that many jurisdictions have taken, but it's not widespread. And a lot of times it's not even funded out of the ministers of health. It's out of philanthropy.
Yeah.
So those are like that, but that's real progress and it's real meaningful for the survivors on the ground in those places without question.
Yeah.
You know, research wise, there's no real young adult research agenda in Canada. 0.4% of cancer research spending, according to a CPAC report from 17. That's 0.4, right? That's not even a percent going to young adults. So this is a specific area of interest. It's not outside the core mandate of YACC. Obviously, we're here for support, but we see advocacy around these issues as a critical part of our role, and we'll continue to raise that for sure. You know, there's a collection of other challenges that go with being a young adult with cancer. I was the first one of my buddies to get cancer, and that is the rite of passage for a lot of people listening today.
Yeah.
And so is delay of diagnosis, and a lot of them are overlooked. And you know, docs are looking because they're looking for the numbers, the mass numbers. You can't have cancer. You're too young. It's not this. It's not. And I mean, a lot of people go through crazy tough experiences just to get a diagnosis and a point of clarity.
Yeah.
And that is the truth, because on one side, yeah, we're not the majority getting cancer. You know, the big cancer numbers are in the later years of life, but we're not insignificant in the numbers either. Like it's 4% of all diagnoses for young adults, and young adults get cancer 8 times more than the kids, right? So, but a lot of people don't even think about it in that way. So while we're not the massive breast cancer, prostate, big numbers, we're not insignificant. It's a big number. 8,000 a year is a giant number in this country. Yeah. And further to that, we have the most to give. Us and the kids, like we have the most to give. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we have this.
Oh, a little freezing, a little again. It's going to come back, I'm sure. But yes, the young adults, like we often say, you're the generation that has so much to give because there's so much living left to be done. And to look at how important your population is and the number, like we were saying, it is not insignificant. And I think for a lot of people, they don't know. You froze again, Geoff, so I just went on myself for just saying it's not insignificant. And
Thank you for picking up for my unstable internet connection because I just got that notice. I only get that notice after you tell me that I've frozen.
That's all right.
I'm not stable anymore, or I'm now stable again, whatever.
Yes.
So sorry, I don't know where I was, but I'm saying like the one of the parts around recovery is core to YACC's mission is that it takes longer to recover. It just does, and so much energy is focused on treatment, and that is a super important space. But I am suggesting to anyone that listens, we have focused so heavily on treatment. We are literally manufacturing, because that's what cancer centers are. They're a manufacturing facility for remission or no evidence of disease. And they're pushing people out and they're ringing that stupid fucking bell. And they're going on the other side of that. And they think, and probably more dangerously, a lot of their people think, their family, their friends, their coworkers, that it's over. But that's not how it works. End of treatment is a beautiful milestone, and I'm not ragging on you if you celebrated it. I did.
You should. Everybody should.
But the ringing of the bell to me is this iconic thing that's grown now so much that sends this huge, inaccurate message, dangerous, hurtful message to the world that says, we're done at treatment. It's almost the opposite for a lot of people. And we know that we hear the YACC stories a lot on that is some of the hardest parts can be after treatment. And that isn't the case for everybody, and we hope it isn't.
Yeah.
But this focus so heavily on treatment without any support virtually for the after treatment space. You have been to war. Use whatever analogy you want. You need recovery across. And I'm not just talking about medical recovery.
No.
That's one part, but I want holistic recovery. I want mind, body, spirit, finances, social. Like I want recovery. I want to get back to the life that I had and that I was chasing before cancer. But that's what I want for every young adult in this country. Mm-hmm. So that's the place to me that we need to do some educating is the understanding that recovery takes longer than treatment. And we need resources for that part too, because right now there's hardly anything. Pittance of pennies being doled out to that.
Yeah, totally. And just so we're clear, because I know and Geoff said it, but it is not about saying that milestones shouldn't be celebrated. It is not about, if you rang the bell, this is stupid. It's not what the message is. It's just this kind of the representation that these kind of transition in phases of cancer have, I would say mostly on people around and sometimes on people themselves. Once they ring the bell, we've talked to a lot of our community members who will say if months later, they're starting to actually feel worse emotionally or mentally, or they're still feeling very, very fatigued, they're feeling like they're failing at recovery. It's almost kind of like I must be doing something wrong because I rang that bell 3 months ago or 4 months ago. Why am I not feeling better? And all we're saying is that it's fine. It's normal. It's okay. This bell is just a milestone of I finished something. This is great. It's awesome. Treatment is fucking hard. But ultimately what comes after, a lot of transformation comes from that. A lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows, great things, more challenging things. All of that is okay. So it's just to kind of support our community members who are done treatment. And as we know, some are never going to be done treatment. So that's another piece as well that is different. But ultimately, it's just to kind of, a lot of our people in our community say it's okay not to be okay. Not feeling great does not mean you are failing. You can't fail at recovering. You can just give yourself some time and hopefully connect with a community, which is kind of what we do. We have, so I'm not going to go on in tons of details about everything we offer. You can totally check youngadultcancer.ca for profiles and stories. We have hundreds of profiles from our community members that are great. There's all kinds of information, resources, blogs, links, name it. It's on there. But I would say, I'll say a few things. So if you are new to YACC and you don't quite know how to navigate these things, there are all kinds of soft ways to check us out and see if we are worth your time or not. So you can first, if you go on our website, you can kind of get started. This is going to mean you're going to fill out this super simple form on our web. It's going to be sent directly to us. And Leslie, our amazing colleague, is going to get back to you, and she's going to send you tons of info about what's available to you today. You can pick and choose what you want. Often a lot of what people do is the first thing they'll go on Facebook. We have this giant 1,200 people Facebook group. It's a private group, so nobody sees anybody's business in there. Only young adults who have been through cancer or supporters of young adults who are themselves young adults who are supporting someone. We have these private spaces. You can talk to your peers. You can ask questions. It is a wealth of information like I haven't seen in many places. You guys become experts of your own life, of your own cancer, of treatment. The knowledge is wicked. So this is one easy place for you to start at YACC, I would say. But since the beginning of COVID, we have also developed, because we can't meet face-to-face yet, it's going to come back, it's a promise. But right now we have weekly chats that are led by peers, so you can connect every week, be in a Zoom kind of call with a few of your peers and have a conversation about a topic that is relevant to you. They talk about relationships, they talk about fear of cancer recurrence, they talk about anxiety, they talk about even death and dying and these conversations. They'll talk about fertility, tons of topics. So you can check in free, connect with your peers, have a chat. We also have what we call Yakety Yak, which is a beautiful initiative by our community members. So this is more of a relax, come in whenever you want on a Zoom call on a Friday night, chat about anything you want, like movies, games, best meal you've had. They don't care. It is not a support group. It's just more to hang out with people. We get it, this series that is going to run every Monday with different conversations and topics. And then there are all kinds of other stuff. Big Cancer Hookup is coming. We're going to have a conference coming. There's going to be events coming up your way. So check us out, sign up. We're very cool people. There's no pressure to do something you don't want to do. This is not how we roll, but we want you to know what's out there for you. So once you've signed up with YACC, then you get emails. Then you know what's happening. You'll know when the next Survivor Conference online is going to be, which is going to be announced so soon. And you're going to know when the hookup is going to be. Anything that's coming down the pipes from YACC, you're going to get access to that. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're not convinced with us who are kind of, long time YACCer connected, if you're not sure about it, check us out, youngadultcancer.ca. Connect with us if you have any questions, and we are going to get back with you in a flash. So that's my spiel about YACC, Geoff. Do you have anything you want to add?
You are so great at that, and I love hearing about all those things. And you are so right. Just to touch back on the ringing of the bell for a second is,
yep.
Some of this stuff, but the YACC Prime study that we led with our partner Sheila
Garland. He's frozen again, so his internet is horrible. He's going to have to do something with that. But we started in 2017 a research. We're going to have a bunch of guests, by the way, in the weeks ahead with some of our YACC Prime team. But we started research with Dr. Sheila Garland. She's a psychologist at Memorial University here in 2017. That ended up being the biggest research we've done with young adults. So you were saying we started research with Sheila Garland, and then you froze, Geoff. You froze. You're going to have to do something about that.
Oh, man, like 4 times now. This is, we're making a switch today. I'll make the call. I was saying on half of young adults are off work 1 to 4+ years.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the many pieces of data we've got from Prime. This idea of recovery after ringing the bell, it takes time, and that is normal. It is normal for that stuff to happen. So that's the challenge I have.
Again, seriously, people, we're going to have to send him messages about how crappy his internet is. I do apologize, because it's always, I feel on the cusp of him saying something that I'm like, what is he going to say? We don't know. I'm borderline kind of done with that. So yes, in YACC Prime, we found a bunch of information that we will share with you in the weeks coming that hopefully is going to help you not feel bad about not quite being where you think you should be or where people think you should be. You froze again. Sorry.
I know. I'm out of internet. It's all you from here on in.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna wrap this up, but you know a little bit more about YACC's program. I do hope that this little half hour with us two, with all the technical problems we've had, has still been informative and helpful for you. I do want to hopefully take you, keep you for long enough on the internet to say, if you had one thing, Geoff, that, oh, you're frozen again. I would have cursed right now. I'm gonna hold back. Those who know me, I have cushions, all kinds of things in my house that have the word fuck on it. That's what I would have said right now. So we like to end our chat with a message that we want to give any young adult watching, any new young adult watching. Do you have a message, Geoff, that you would like to tell young adults who are watching?
Oh man, this you know what? I think community really matters, and YACC's got your back. We are a place that you will find people who totally connect to you and what you're about. And the Prime data shows the value of feeling connected, and that's what we're here for. We're here for you to help you with, through, and beyond the experience of cancer, wherever you are.
Yes. We are here for you. I do like to remind every Monday. So this show comes on Mondays. Every Monday on Facebook for myself. It started for myself about 6 or 7 years ago, actually, I think, which is a bit crazy. I post a reminder to just breathe. There's a lot going on when you get diagnosed with cancer. There's a lot going on when you go through everything that comes with diagnosed with cancer. I know we hear it a lot, but there's a reason for that. We're not just a bunch of saying to breathe or reminding people to breathe. So just taking a few deep breaths when things start to get a bit overwhelming, a bit out of control, unsure, scary, can really go a long way in helping us see a bit more clearly what the next step is. So that's always my reminder, regardless of what's happening in your day. I hope that watching us and hearing about YACC makes you realize that you're not alone, that we want to be there for you and have your back. Our community is amazingly supportive. You're going to get to know some of our people in the weeks ahead. So I guess for me, it's just deep breath, go on our website, get started, and get connected with YACC. So it is awesome to have had you here. Geoff has been in and out, but I was really glad to have you with this morning, man. Thank you. And there's these weird robot sounds, which maybe is going to come through the video. Anyway, so thank you, everyone. Next week, so next Monday, which is going to be November 9th, I'm going to be with Debbie Bastien. She is a nurse in Ottawa, amazing, full of energy, and mostly full of passion for the young adult community. She works with bone marrow transplant, and she and I are going to talk about immunocompromised in these days. So all these questions around COVID, around the flu shot, and around, am I still immunocompromised? I'm 5 years out cancer, 10 years, 6 years, 6 months. I haven't had chemo. I haven't had, so all these questions that our community members have, Debbie is going to try and answer as many questions as possible. So that's going to be next week. Hope you can join us. Thanks again. And hope you have a really great Monday or you watch that. And a great week. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Great work, Karine.